Harrington is in the building. Well, that's good to hear. And apparently, I don't know what's going on with the X because we're not getting any communication with the Twitter. So we'll do this until X gets worked out and fixed. This is how we'll do this here. Let's go through what transpired across the board in high school football that caught my eye. Every year, first round, I look forward to the upsets, the 7, 8, 6 seeds. I don't count a 5-4 an upset. To me, it's not an upset. It's just like the NCAA tournament at 9 losing or 9 beating an 8. It's not a big upset to me. So that's my view of it. Big picture here. There were at least – we got the X working now. We finally got the X working if you're watching on Hatfield Sports. You're also watching on IG, Hatfield Sports 2K4, Cova Sports TV on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, VirginiaPreps.com. It'll be all in those places later. But there were at least by my count 6 teams seated 6th or lower. Don't think you mean like Ovella used to do it. Not good. Here to watch my brother do his thing, though. Ovella Harrington, that's a blast from the past of a name there, Coach Barrett. But there were at least 6 seeds. Well, I'm going to start to tell you later about one of your guys who did me dirty. We'll talk about that later off the camera. But anyways, 6 teams seated 6th or lower that won on this evening. And the big shocker was the 8th seed. There was an 8-1 upset, which is a little bit like your 16-1 UMBC beating of Virginia or Purdue gagging on it like they do from time to time. They gagged on it against Alabama. They don't give a pee about nothing but the Tide. Willie, sorry, your Tide lost in basketball. You better hope the football team gets to the playoff. They should after smoking LSU and Brian Kelly last week. Nonetheless, like Fairleigh Dickinson did to Purdue or UMBC did to UVA, the 8th seed, Madison County in Region 2B. Now, they played Clark County pretty competitively, losing 49-35 last week. But nobody outside of those kids and coaches and diehard fans of Madison County football thought they had a chance, a snowball's chance in Hades, to beat the undefeated Clark County Eagles coached by Casey Childs, who were 10-0, rolling. And this Madison County defense, let's just say it, they weren't great. They were giving up 31 points per game coming in, and they shut out Clark at the Felt. They did it at the Felt, folks. 21 donut. Those kids better get donuts. Larry Helmick, if you're out there watching and listening, head coach of Madison County, great job for you. Get the missus, get the family to buy you all kinds of treats and have a big party. But get those kids donuts for shutting out Clark County. That is one heck of a job. The other big upsets tonight, you had the 6th-seed Colonial Forge beating its opponent in Stafford, 45-24. Not a big upset because they should have won the regular season meeting and let it go late. You had the 7th seed in Deep Creek, which we'll get to in a moment, 21-20 over Cox. And I'll eat my crow on Saturday morning, Andre Twine, if you're just tuning in and watching. We got you coming on the show. I didn't think you had much of a chance against Cox, but you proved me wrong. You got it done on the road. Big shout out to the real Mike Jones, who stood up for the Hornets and that run defense, which clamped it down on Cox. We'll get to in a moment. You also had the 6th seed in Tab beat Hopewell. That's 2 years in a row now. Hopewell has gone down early in the playoffs. Last year, they got knocked out early in Region 3A by Heritage of Newport News. That was a stunner. This was a surprise. Good job by John Byron and the Tigers, 24-13, making guys like living legends Terry Kirby and Chris Slade proud to be Tab Tigers. Proud to be an American, proud to be a Tab Tiger, where at least they know they're free. They got it done. Middlesex, a 6 beating a 3 in Northampton, 38-36, and Patrick Henry Glade Spring, a 7 beating Holston, 35-7 as well. So anyhow, a lot of big surprises there. Madison County was at the top of the board in terms of the upsets. Interact with us as always on the Cova Sports TV, on IG, Facebook, Twitter, X, as we go through this for you for about 25, 30 minutes before we finish up. Oh, Phil Twine Jr.'s already commented and can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Yeah, listen, great job. Deep Creek got it done. Big job. We'll get to them now because number 2 on the hat sits. We talked about number 1. And by the way, I'm going to weigh in on the Hayfield topic at the very end. That's coming, folks. I'm going to make you sit here for a little while. Try to keep the eyes awake. Don't fall asleep on me. It's coming at the very end because I want to unleash the bucket a little bit on the whole Hayfield saga situation in a moment. But number 2 on the hats hits on the live here tonight. We'll read it off the board here. We mentioned the 6 teams seeded 6th or lower. Deep Creek, they gave up just 34 yards rushing heck of a job. And out in 1D, Deep Creek is in 5A, by the way. They're a 7 seed. They'll play the 3 seed in Salem, which dodged an upset. They were on upset alert with Bayside. Bayside had the ball driving, about 5 minutes to go. John White's Marlins put up a good effort, but Mark Hall's Sun Devils prevailed. Willie Moore had a big night for them running the football, as he's done all year long. One of our recent Chicho's Pizza 757 football players of the week, leading rusher in the area. And Salem got it done 14-7, so they'll play host of Deep Creek next week. Meanwhile, in Region 1D, D as in dog, not B as in boy, Patrick Henry Glade Spring, who we had in our preseason top 10, we'll gloat about it now because they were not having a top 10 type of year. 35-7 over Holston. I didn't pick that. Thought the Holston Cavaliers would get it done. They were once hotter than a stolen car, as my man Butch was saying on the NFHS stream years ago. But tonight, Patrick Henry Glade Spring got it done behind not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 rushing touchdowns from Jebediah Stewart. Anybody with the name Jebediah, you got to respect that, right? Bottom line to those 2 upsets, and sometimes what gets it done. We talked about the March Madness and the college basketball. I'll make that analogy. The great equalizer is a 3-point shot. In football, you think you got to have these flashy offenses, 4 or 5 wide receivers, and chuck it deep. It all comes down to what Tom Jackson used to say with the Swami Chris Berman on ESPN, NFL Prime Time, which I used to love watching that show. Now it's changed up. It's not the same highlight show it used to be. If you're going to win in the playoffs, you got to run the ball and stop the run. That's what it comes down to. It's a pretty simple formula. It still wins games in the playoffs as the weather gets colder in November and into December. You run the ball, you stop the run, you got yourself a chance. That's what it comes down to. Plain and simple. Number 3 on the Hats hits. Anybody celebrating its first round playoff win with more jubilation than Colonial Heights? How about the job they did tonight? Before tonight, they were 0-7 all time in the postseason from 1986 to 2003. They won a head-spinning battle, 35-34 over New Kent to change that narrative and get it done. They also won a game with New Kent that was a nail-biter, 14-13 back in early September. So they get this done, and first ever playoff win, well-deserved for Colonial Heights. I don't know if it's going to happen again for you next week because you got to go to Warner Stadium to take on Lafayette, and Andy Lynn's Rams are really, really good, and they're the favorite to come out of that region, and the favorite, in my opinion, to be, well, I should say one of the favorites for the Class 3 state championship. I want to backpedal for a second. Liberty Christian's still the favorite, and then I think your top contenders are Thomas Jefferson of Richmond and Lafayette. But for Colonial Heights on this night, this is what makes the playoff special for them. They can celebrate this. Justin Keeler and company, they've been building. They've been knocking on the door. This is the most depth they've had on the line since he's been there. I felt he had good team speed on defense coming into the year. Zamarion Mason was one of their kids being recruited as a wide receiver with an offer from Maine. Liked his group, and they've been plugging away in the Central District where for years they've been behind your heavyweights, your Dinwiddies, your Hopewells, your Matokas, your Thomas Dales, even, snickered at when they'd play the Petersburgs of the world and even Prince George to a degree, who's been improved this year under Tom Hall. But this is a big moment for them. Good win for Colonial Heights. So kudos to y'all. Number 4 on the Hats Hits takeaways. We're getting closer to the Hayfield stuff, and I'm sure people can weigh in with their opinions, their thoughts, yay, nay, wherever they feel on this whole deal. Number 4, and I love this. People love to play the transitive properties. I hear this all the time in sports. For example, let's go to pro football. So if the best team in the league, like the Kansas City Chiefs, were to lose to a 4-5 team, and then that 4-5 team was to lose to the Carolina Panthers, that must mean that the Carolina Panthers can beat the Chiefs. The transitive, you can't do that. Just because Team A beat Team B in September or October, or Team A beats Team B, Team B Team C, Team A is going to beat Team C. It doesn't work that way. It's now November. Things change. Stonebridge and Lower Botetourt proved that tonight. The Bulldogs lost to Light Ridge, relatively new school, 21-14. They grounded the Lightning tonight, 35-0. Coach Golston's team played a tough, rugged schedule. Stonebridge knows how to win in the playoffs. They left no doubt. This wasn't going to be close. Lower Botetourt, they had to make it close. They got shut out at Northside just a couple weeks ago, 17-0. Tonight, overtime, 43-41. Northside answered just about every score from Overbay and those guys from Botetourt. But in the end, 2-point conversion was good for Botetourt. No good for Northside. They celebrated in Daleville. They move on to take on Magna Vista next week, which could be a whale of a ball game. Second round playoff matchup could be an epic clash. And I want to know from you all out there, what is the best second round playoff matchup on the board? Is it a Botetourt Magna Vista? Is it a Madison Westfield rematch? Is it an Indian River Green Run game? I saw the Braves tonight after my OD women's basketball broadcast. They were running wild in the second half on Kempsville behind Rayvon Moore, who had 3 long TD runs in that game, well over 200 yards rushing, might have had 300 yards rushing for that matter. Is it Maury Warwick in Region 5B? Is it Kings Fork Nansemond River? Is it something else I haven't touched on? Is it Armstrong Kettle Run in 3B? What is the best second round playoff matchup? Let us know on the live. It can be on IG, it can be on X, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. Cova Sports TV on YouTube. We'll be taking your comments on that on our show on 757 Saturday Sports Talk with yours truly and the coach Ed Young coming up on Saturday. And big Saturday of all kinds of action out there in the world of sports. Old Dominion hosting James Madison. I'll be there for that. Football. You got games all over the place. Big sports and football weekend. Get you set for the big NFL games coming up with Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Ravens, and so much more on Sunday. And our last one, and by the way, real quick, last thing I put up there on the fourth Hats Hit Twitter tweet nugget. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if both of those programs, Botetourt and Stonebridge, find a way again next week. They've got 90 playoff victories between them. 90! Stonebridge has got about 66 of those. Botetourt's got about 24 of those. Still a lot of playoff wins. Not counting those teams out. All right, we've done this for 12 minutes, 13 minutes, and the elephant is still in the room. Is the elephant in here somewhere? Yeah, elephant's in the room somewhere. And it's about Hayfield. If you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock or living in a cave, Hayfield, there was an investigation, this long saga that started about, 7, 8, 9 months ago, going back to after Daryl Overton left Freedom of Woodbridge, got hired as the head coach after 2 state titles there, by the way, highly successful. Bunch of players transfer over to Hayfield. I think 31 is the exact number of players that transferred over. Forgive me if that number's off by 2, 3, 4. I'm just going off what other reports have been. And I haven't been doing no investigative reporting like other outlets out there, whether they're in the Washington, D.C. area for the Washington Post or the TV stations or the Fairfax Times or the Inside Nova. And there are some people that are doing some hard, good work with that. I'm not judging yay, nay, indifferent. Nonetheless, they got a 2-year playoff ban that was recommended by the Virginia High School League, and a committee took that ban, and they said, you're not going to the playoffs. They appealed the ban. Fairfax County did an investigation that found nothing wrong, but the VHSL recommended the ban, and they got banned for 2 years. However, Hayfield wasn't done there. They filed in the circuit court of the county of Fairfax parents regarding the reinstatement of the Hayfield football team and the school, that because of this ruling now, the judge made a decision today, on Friday, I should say. I guess it's not yesterday. Judge Manuel A. Capsalis granting a temporary injunction against the VHSL's decision to ban them from the playoffs over the next 2 years. Now, they were the 1 seed before this all came down. This came down at 3:37 p.m. The judge saying, quote, Hayfield gets to continue playing football. And now he's scheduled a hearing for December 4th to discuss this further. So let's get this all straight. Let's get this all out there on the table. So you have this big saga that's going on for however many months it is, 7, 8, 9 months. And all these transfers. And we literally have kids hopping on their transportations, their buses to go to these games. The playoffs are already set for the Occoquan Region 6C. You got in Occoquan Region 6C, Lake Braddock's been bumped to the 1 seed. They're playing host to Robinson, an 8 seed. It's all giddy to be in the playoffs at 3 and 7. Whether you believe 3 and 7 belongs or not, that's another debate for another time. You got the 4 seed in West Potomac hosting the 5 seed in South County. You got the 3 seed in Fairfax hosting the 6 seed in Mount Vernon, and the 2 seed West Springfield and Thomas Edison squaring off at West Springfield, Edison, the 7 seed. So South County, Mount Vernon, Edison, and Robinson all get the phone call. Guess what? You're not playing a football game on the road. West Potomac, Lake Braddock, Fairfax, West Springfield, hold the phone. You're not hosting tonight. And by the way, West Potomac, you're going to get bumped down from a 4 to a 5 because Hayfield's back in the playoffs, baby. And here they are. So they're reinstated. Your new matchups now is Hayfield the 1, hosting Edison the 8, Lake Braddock the 2, Mount Vernon the 7, West Springfield the 3, South County the 6, and Fairfax the 4, hosting West Potomac the 5. It gets better. Playoff game is going to be on Thursday, November 21st. Your second round is Tuesday, November 26th. And your region finals are Saturday, November 30th. Now, the VHSL not going to mess with its state semis, December 7th, and its state finals, which are December 14th for classes 6 and 5, the highest divisions. They'll be at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, which I will be privileged, again, I believe, to be calling that alongside Andy Hayes on NFHS Network. But here's my thing. Whether you feel Hayfield's right, wrong, you're happy, glad, sad, mad, whatever your feeling is. The fact that this comes down the day of playoff games and we delay it. Now, it wasn't the delay that West Virginia got, but we delay it. The sequence of events that have happened here from this day to this day to this day, the timeline, you couldn't have written this in a book, a movie script. Nobody would have bought this. This just wouldn't have bought it. They would have laughed at you, balled it up, taken my paper here, and just said, I'm not buying it. That's what they would have said. They would have said, no, this is, what kind of fairy tale is this you're living in? It's incomprehensible to the human brain, as I said. And guess what? Nobody out there, nobody, not you, me, nobody, players, coaches, they don't know how this is all going to play out. No telling how it ends in December. And I'll just say this. I'm disappointed, not in the ruling that they've been reinstated, not that it's played out. I'm disappointed in some of the actions of adults. I'm only happy, not for any of you fans out there, only happy for the players, especially the seniors that get told this is it. Now, I'm also sad for some of those seniors like Robinson seniors, whether they belong or not. You're out of the playoffs because of this, because of a judge who doesn't know probably the difference between a field goal and an extra point. Probably doesn't know the difference between a linebacker and a fullback. Doesn't know the difference between a go route and a halfback toss. And now that we get to the legal situation, you now wonder, is this setting a precedent of what will happen anytime something gets ruled on by the VHSL and any other athletic event, any other endeavor? What will transpire if you go to court? Is it going to now put the fear of God in people? And will the transferring, will rules no longer stand up? This was a rough day. Let's just call it, this was a rough day for the VHSL. Hayfield feels vindicated. They feel like they've been given a new lease on life. They're going to now go out there and just mow their opponents down. They're going to win a state championship in December. And they're wearing, as the Detroit Pistons used to say, they're the black hat. They're the bad guy, and they relish that. They don't mind it one bit whatsoever. They don't mind it. They're here. They've got their loyal supporters and fan base. That is great. I just sit here and I wonder, what on earth are we doing that we're going to have players potentially play 3 playoff games in 9 days? This was the best we could do here. We just scrapped it and decided this is how we fix it. My brain is having a hard time wrapping it around. I can't quite fathom all this, how we change the playoffs literally as they're getting ready to kick off. The ball's about to be, they're getting on the bus to go to the games. I mean, you can't make this up. You can't fathom this. It's truly remarkable. I can't tell you how many text messages and calls and some of the things people say you roll your eyes at, but it does feel so bizarre on so many different levels that we got to this point. And I'll use this word, and this is a strong one. It feels like this whole situation has hijacked the Class 6 playoffs. I don't know about classes 5 down to Class 1, but it feels like it has hijacked the postseason in Class 6. And now the drama, the suspense, the buildup to state championship Saturday at JMU if Hayfield is there, whether they're playing Oscar Smith, Battlefield, other, fill in the blank, it could be off the charts, off the charts. And and Derek Fogle makes a good point on the Cova Sports TV. Between the boxing and the judge ruling, it was a weird day for sports. It was a weird day. If you watched that Tyson fight, I saw something come across my timeline. I couldn't believe what I saw, but I had to do a double take. It was like the Hayfield thing. I did a double take. So strange. So I'm sure people have some opinions on this. We'll delve into it more on 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Coach Ed Young, who's never shy about sharing his opinion on the matter. I did say last week, and I will stand by it, I'm happy that I'll get to potentially see Jeff Overton Jr. now pursue this rushing record, and Vincent Ordenis, who's had 71 grabs for 1066 and 14 TDs, get a chance to keep making plays and get himself All-State recognition, and Isaiah French throwing the football, those defensive guys making plays. It also is unfortunate that kids are getting ready for a playoff game and all these teams are preparing, and they didn't have X amount of transfers. They didn't get any recommendation from the VHSL. They didn't break any rules or have any allegations or any whatever you want to file under the criteria here. And now they have their plans drastically changed by adults that may not have been acting appropriately. And a judge, we have a judge that comes into, I didn't think we'd have a judge in all my years of covering high school sports. We've got a judge now basically deciding the playoff brackets. We're going to court now, Your Honor. And, look, that's the final say in all this. And it does feel like, and this is really strong, and I have to be careful in how I couch this, but I'm gonna do it anyways. It does come off like you have a league where you have all these members, schools, and is that league, when something like this, is that league powerless? You do wonder a little bit when something like this comes out. You do wonder. And it's a crazy, crazy story. And I got news for you. It might not be over. There might be some more drama to come on this whole thing. In terms of on the field, the talent, there's no denying what Hayfield can do. I've said it from day one. I think maybe your two most talented teams, and the matchup people would love to see is a Hayfield-Maury, which I don't know that we'll get to see that. But they both could be playing on state championship Saturday and get themselves some hardware and do so. They might both do so rather comfortably. But this Hayfield story has reached a whole new level with this. Literally, I thought yesterday, about 24 to 48 hours ago, brackets were printed up. You would have thought equipment was collected and they were done. There was no chance this judge was going to say, you're in the playoffs. And Jim Mora, playoffs? Yeah, here they are. It is absolutely mind-boggling what has transpired. There are, like I said, a lot of angry people, a lot of thrilled people if you're in Hayfield's corner or camp and rooting for those kids. I'm really stuck at a point where I'm just wrapping my brain around it. It's wild. It's a roller coaster for them. So we'll see how they go about finishing this off and what will take place. And I'll caution this out there. And again, I'm going to make people mad with this one, but I'm going to say it. I've said it off camera and off air. What I fear is going to happen is we're going to get to a point, whether it be with someone playing Hayfield in football or another sport, potentially a Class II school that's a giant in basketball. There's going to be, not an angry mob, but a lot of upset individuals that will then just say, I'm going to pick up my ball and go. And I don't want to see that happen, but it feels like at some point, based on conversations that coaches have had that have been relayed to me, and I can't tell them to have those conversations, that day's coming. I don't know when that day's coming, but that day is coming. And you think stuff is happening now. Wait till something like that occurs. And then there's fallout from that. And now it becomes even wilder. So the Class 6 playoffs, buckle up. We can't tell you really a whole lot. There were some regions that played tonight. Region 6A, where you had teams like Oscar Smith and Manchester and Glen Allen and Highland Springs advance in Region 6D, where we've got a rematch of Madison and Westfield. Battlefield 1 and 6B. Patriots squeaked it out against Gainesville. Colonial Forge is marching on in 6B, taking on North Stafford, who just beat them a week ago. North Stafford going from winless not too long ago to now. And again, this Hayfield story, the other thing I brought up last week was whether they were in the playoffs or not, fairly or unfairly. I mentioned this on Julian Brown's podcast, the Nova Legends podcast. What I also didn't like was you were going to have people say if Team A, B, C, or D, Oscar Smith, Highland Springs, Battlefield, Madison, or other, A, B, C, D, or E, if they were to win a state championship, the immediate reply or retort from somebody is, yeah, they won it, but you didn't go through Hayfield. That was going to be it. And then now if Hayfield wins it, there's going to be this, yeah, you won, but you cheated. You don't deserve it. You don't. That's coming. That's coming. It almost feels like this is such a weird, you get an uneasy, it's a sad feeling because there's going to be so much of how's the championship going to play out? And it's tough. It's really tough to digest for folks, but to be continued as the story has more twists and turns and plot twists than I think any of us could have envisioned when Daryl Overton left Freedom of Woodbridge to take the Hayfield job. And now we'll see if anybody can take the Hawks down, or do the Hawks end up going on to win a state championship after literally getting told you're not in the playoffs, and the judge says, oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Always fun to do this with you after Friday night games and into Saturday morning. We've got a load of stuff for you on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We might be connecting with a guest from JMU. We will be talking with you about all the different things in the sports world. A couple of interviews for you after ball games. We might have a couple of surprises in the works for you too with Coach Young and yours truly on Cova Sports TV. Tune in 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We will talk about the ODU JMU game, maybe offer up a prediction on that game. And we'll do our NFL picks for week number, what is it now, 11, 12? I've lost track of what week it is in the league. I was 2-1 last week. Ed and Bruce Pearl were 1-2. People saying Bruce Pearl, the Auburn coach, picks games. No, it's Bruce Pearl of Virginia Beach Mustangs fame that picks games. We always appreciate him doing that with us. He is just a real treasure for us and one of our great partners and supporters. We've got someone asking, yes, UVA takes on Ed's Fighting Irish Jack, and I know you were excited about that. I don't feel it's good for your Wahoos about that, although I do think Notre Dame's still a little overrated. If Ed's watching this or sees it later, I said that out loud. Yeah, I know Riley Leonard and company have been playing well, the defense, all that good stuff, but I think you're a tad overrated. And I don't think UVA is going to bite you, though. Sorry, Jack. R Booth 757 wants to throw me a question before we leave. Who is the leading rusher in the state? Well, if you listen to Max Preps or read Max Preps, they have Kenneth Madison of Rappahannock as the leading rusher in the state. Gideon Davidson not far behind. But that's just among schools that have reported their rushing statistics through Max Preps' numbers. I don't know if I've gone through all the classifications. I probably can give you a pretty accurate answer to that question once we get to region final week, because I do think even if someone has the top rushing total and his team gets knocked out by about Thanksgiving weekend, state semifinal week, there will be somebody that's the leader in the clubhouse as they accumulate more stats through these next 3 to 4 to 5 games. It could be Jeffrey Overton Jr. by the time it's all said and done from Hayfield. Willie Moore, by the way, you asked about him from Salem. And again, their stats aren't on Max Preps, but the numbers I have for young Willie currently, Sandy said I look disheveled. Sandy, I'm not disheveled. Your husband is disheveled, especially when his guy on the West Coast, who's, AARP, still playing basketball, is losing a game to a team he shouldn't. I don't know what they're doing tonight, but he's disheveled. I'm not disheveled. The numbers for Willie Moore coming into tonight, and he got about 200 yards rushing, close to it, were at 1769. So you know what? He might be, he would be ahead of Madison. He could very well be leading the state in rushing. That's a great question, Arboost 757. I'm glad you put me on that. So you'll have me spending what some would call useless time on this matter to give you a more accurate answer for next week on one of our podcasts. But watch them all on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. You want a bold pick? I'm going to give it to you. The Bills beat the Chiefs. It's not too bold. I think they might win by double digits too on Sunday in the NFL. We'll talk to you next time, Lord willing, as we go to round 2 of the playoffs. Have a great sports weekend, everyone. And make sure you tune in to 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Cova Sports TV, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Have a great one. See you later.